My name is Bobby. I work for Hettich. This is Paulina.
Hi everyone. I'm from Paulina Interiors. Thank you for coming today. Lovely to see you all on the rainy day out here.
Yeah, so I just want to say we're very grateful for you to come into the workshop today. I really feel like what we're going to share with you today is going to be really useful. Whether you're renovating, whether you're building, whether you're doing something in the future, hopefully what it will do is it will make you think a little bit different when you're in any space. That's going to be a lot of my talk. My talk's going to be about making things in any space convenient, making it simple, and making access easy when you're in any space. I've got a great guest for you, Paulina. The reason why I wanted to bring Paulina in because she can really share her expertise, and her qualification is interior design, so she can really help you with material, color selection. Of course, she also understands being practical, being functional, but please feel free to use Paulina. We've got her here just for today. For you guys, if you're doing a project, if you're building or renovating and you want to ask some questions around how you should go about it, that's what she's here for.
I've talked to a few of you beforehand, so I've got a bit of an idea what you guys are working on and what sort of help you need. So if you've got any questions around the initial stages of the process and where to start, or materiality, not sure about colors and how they kind of come together, the practical aspect, durability of materials and things like that, please ask a question. We're here really to cover anything that's of use to you guys. You know, it can be really overwhelming at the initial stages in the journey. Without the right support, without the right team, sometimes you know, you sort of keep second guessing and can get a little bit too much. So the more advice you can get in initial stages and like you're doing, educating yourself, the better, and the better the whole process is going to be for you.
Yeah, and you're also welcome to bring your plans to us today. If you've come in with a set of plans or some ideas, we're going to hang around after this. So if you want to ask questions, we're here for you, okay? So we're not going anywhere. We'll hang around and we can maybe talk to you about that a little bit later. We also have a showroom in the back as well. So if you want to come after the session to the showroom to actually have a look at some stuff with us, you're welcome to come there. I think the bathrooms are just behind us. Feel free to get up and go to the bathroom anytime you want. And also feel free to ask questions. When we're presenting, you don't have to wait until the end. You can actually just ask questions. It's a nice, casual, friendly type seminar. And thank you, Sarana. Thanks for organising everything.
Quick show of hands.
Okay.
Who here is in the middle of their build or renovation right now? Started, yes, or started, you know, undergoing the process. Who's thinking or, you know, about to kind of embark? Yep, a couple of you. And who's
awesome.
Sort of 6 to 12 months still away from the process and just getting some ideas to start with? Amazing. Okay, so we have a good mix of people.
Yep.
So a lot of you obviously are right in the stage where you sort of need all the advice right now. So we're going to try and give you guys as much value as possible.
Definitely.
So we can go through everything.
I just want to ask before, if there's a slide up that we're interested in, are you okay with if we take a photo of the slide?
Of course.
Yes, of course. So please do. And if you afterwards, if you like the presentation, we're actually getting it captured today as well. So if you like the presentation, like the slides, please get in touch, and happy to share that with you as well afterwards.
Yeah, so Paulina had the idea of recording it. So if you do want that recording or a section of it, we can send it to you. Even the presentation, if you see something that you really like, we can email it to you. Okay, so because we really try to make it in a way that is going to help you. And like I said, if you even not renovating, I think the ideas and the concept is really going to help you with how you think in the future about any space that you're working in. Okay, should we?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, awesome.
A little bit about us.
Yep.
So that's a slide about us. So who's Paulina Interiors? So we have been, so I've been in the industry for about 15 plus years, and that sort of spans across the larger commercial projects in Australia and overseas, as well as the more boutique residential work. So we essentially assist our clients who are busy, who want a beautiful home, but they're not sure what to do it, how pull it all together. So this is what we do, and whether that be a renovation, a new build, or assisting people with their furniture selections, that's where we come in and we help the clients there. Yeah, that's essentially about us. My background is in arts. I've done a bit of fine arts as well as interior design. So when we put the concepts together and we put it all together, it's cohesive and really considered, and it's always tailored to the needs of the clients. So whether that be, you know, more of a character home or a really modern design, so it's always custom and tailored to the needs of our clients and their families.
Yeah, and my role at Hettich is I'm a specification manager. So what that means is I work with architects and designers at the moment. So what I do is I help them with basically some of our solutions into projects. Whether it's a single home or a small project, or whether it's a large multi-res project like apartments, what I do is I go and see them, and a lot of times they're looking for a solution around cabinetry and joinery, and that's what we specialise in at Hettich as well. But it's not about hardware, and exactly what we want to share with you today, what I want to share with you is around easy access, making things convenient for you in any space. But most of my time I've spent working with joiners, architects, designers. So when it comes to joinery, kitchens, wardrobes, vanities, I love to maybe just have a discussion with you and just share my experience with you as well. Okay.
And likewise with us as well, we don't just come up with, I guess, creative concepts. We do actually take that through to selections, documentation, to translate the design concept to the buildable drawings for the builder. So we have a few more slides on the more nitty-gritty of the process, the clearances, the layouts and things like that. So it's going to be technical just as much as it's going to be about the look today.
Okay, easy. All right. So, intelligent kitchen design concept. So let's get into this a little bit. What is it? What is intelligent kitchen design really mean? And we've used kitchens because kitchens are such an integral part of the home. Everybody says they're heart of the home. So it can be any space, but we've gone with kitchens because we want to give you some examples of kitchens that have been designed with intelligent kitchen concept. Look. We do extensive research at Hettich. Hettich as a company in Germany has been around for, has been around for about 135 years. So they do extensive research and development into any space and how they can innovate things into that space to make things easy for people. So a lot of that search has really featured three very, very important things that I want to make you aware of. And the first one is optimization of space. So optimization of space, and I just want to quickly break down that for you. Optimization of space, let's say in a kitchen, is maximizing storage, maximizing organization. Every little millimeter and centimeter is going to count. So making sure that you're not wasting any space inside your cabinetry, and it happens all the time. And the reason for that is because the organization and the storage is really, really going to be important to you, especially in small spaces. So a lot of times, and the bigger it gets, obviously the worse it gets because you've got now more wasted space. So what I want you to think about is optimization of space. How are you going to access all of the space that you've got inside your kitchen? Okay? Like I said, feel free to ask any questions you've got. If it doesn't make sense, just put your hand up or ask a question. The second one that's really important is work process or workflow, you can call it. So there's a certain process that we go through in a kitchen scenario. And that process needs to be right. That process needs to flow. It needs to be easy. The process can't be you traveling from one point to the other all the time. So we want to minimize the travel time. We want to minimize the work that you do in the kitchen, so you actually can have a really good time working in the kitchen. So work process is really important. Make work in the kitchen simple, convenient, and ergonomic. Ergonomic is really important too. And you'll see some slides there a little bit later as well about why it's important. So you can look at a kitchen and say, oh, that's a beautiful kitchen, and it is, but what about the work process in the kitchen? Is it going to help you? Is it going to help you make things easy? Are the right things stored in the right place? Is the bench height at the right height? You've got overhead cabinets. What are they doing for you? So you need to start breaking those things down before you finalize your kitchen plan. Movement. So movement's very important because we're moving around the kitchen all the time. Now there's two types of movements. One is you moving around the kitchen, and the other one is things moving with you. So that could be your cabinetry, doors opening, drawers coming out, overhead openings, handles, pushing, pulling, all that stuff is movement. So those are the really three three major things that we identified at Hettich through the research that we've done, and not me personally, but the company's done. And this actual research is quite old. It's from the 80s, but we keep developing the research and we find that it's exactly the same to today's day. So although materials change, although our lifestyles change a little bit, those processes don't change. Okay, any questions on that? Okay. So I thought maybe just would break things down for you a little bit. We'll give you some visuals there. Visibility and optimization of space. We talked about optimization of space. Everything should be right there at a glance immediately. Okay? So visibility is really, really important when you're about to access the goods you need in a cabinet, because the whole idea of a cabinet is that you've got goods inside, and what we're trying to do with a cabinet or furniture is we're trying to access the goods that are inside. That's why you have a cabinet. That's why you have a kitchen. So that's the reason why we build it. So everything should be right there at a glance immediately for you to be able to grab it. Okay? Ergonomic work process. Avoid bending, stretching, just movement that it's unnecessary, that makes it too hard for you to actually move. You can see this is a great example where you've
Knees,
got
back, everything.
Yeah, you've got doors, right? I mean, the kitchen can look great with the material. It's got beautiful stone, it's got beautiful doors, and it's the colors that you want. But how are you going to get the goods out of the cabinet down the bottom?
I do love the thing on the floor.
Yeah. And you know what? We've got videos of consumers, like end users. So we videoed a lot of different families, not in Australia, but in Europe. And they put a video camera there for like a whole week. And this is what happens. And you actually get to see people. It was a project that, and I think we still do that project. And when you watch people move around without them knowing that they're being videoed because they forget about it, you actually come across this a lot. Yeah. So definitely ergonomics is very important. And then movement, flow, and access. So simple, convenient processes require easy access. This is really important to remember. If you can summarize this, if you memorize this part here, it will really help you when you're designing. Whether you're a professional designer, you're designing something, or whether you're at home thinking about your cabinetry, simple, convenient processes requires easy access. You've got to have easy access in anything, because when access to anything is too hard, you just don't want to do it. You don't want to cook, you don't want to wash, you don't want to clean, you don't want to entertain. So those three things you can see that kind of relate to the pictures that I put there as well. Any questions on that?
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
What if you have two different people who are two different heights?
Okay, all right. So
that's a good question.
yeah, so look, it's about storing the right goods in the right place. So you can only go ergonomics. You can look after, like you can use ergonomics to design the cabinetry in certain heights, but it's really about putting the right goods in the right place. And I'll give you an example. So if you're not very tall, you wouldn't put your oils and spices in the overhead.
But if you are very tall?
But if you are very tall, you might.
So,
Okay? So
so
that's
that
not,
it can be challenging. It can definitely
And-
be challenging.
yeah, so it's not,
So
and
are
that's what I
you
mean.
both using the space, or is it one more of a cook and the other one isn't?
We both use it. We both use it. One more than the other.
so then you've got to think about how often you use that. Okay, so what I mean by that is you can store your oils and spices in the overhead if it's easy for you to reach. But if you're using that all the time, you may find it's a lot easier in a drawer system right next to my oven and right next to my cooker, so I can pull it out. And that helps both of you. Okay, so you can do that. There's no set formula. You don't have to have your oils and spices in a drawer system. And we'll show you that in a narrow spice pullout. So we have a solution called a narrow base pullout. It helps you. It works for a shorter person or a taller person. But what I'm saying is you don't have to just put it in there. You just have to see what works for you. But it's about thinking about how often do I use it in a day, and how easy can I make it for myself.
Yeah,
That's
I think
the idea.
it can be challenging when you have two people with quite different heights, because sometimes if we have a family and they're quite tall, right? So we might design the kitchen that's not at 900, which is the standard. We might do 920 or 950 sometimes. So it's actually the whole kitchen is set up so it's a lot easier to use for someone who's taller, and likewise, you know, if they're shorter. But yes, I guess when you have one person that's taller and one shorter, it does present challenges, but I think it's about, like Bobby said, working out if you use the same things at the same sort of rate, or maybe one person prefers to cook more, or maybe they prefer to, you know, bake more or something like that, and working out what is a space for things.
Where's the best spot to put it?
We'll talk about it in a lot more detail later on, but what's the best spot for the different things and who accesses it more, and then just communicate together and come up with a solution together.
Quick follow-up question. If 900 is the standard, how high was the person for whom it was a standard?
I wouldn't know that,
How
to be
tall
honest.
is the standard person for which 900 is?
What's 185? I guess would be your kind of standard, maybe height or something like that. 180, something like that. I think that would probably be like considered standard.
So for someone of 180 tall, 900, so a kitchen bench should be half your height, is what you're saying?
So it needs to be like, if you see the space, the very first image there, so where the kitchen bench comes to, and that's your work area. So yeah, you don't want to be doing this when you're cooking, and you don't want to be doing this when you're cooking. This starts to happen. So it does need to be like that sort of level.
What are you going to say?
A different application, I teach how to change hospital beds. I always tell you to put the bed to the height of the lowest person.
Oh, yeah.
The height of the lowest person, because it's more of an ergonomically difficult for it to be higher for someone that's shorter, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think.
But I think it'd be like a Venn diagram where there's probably a space in the middle that's ergonomically okay for both types.
Yeah.
All right.
So we'll show you some, thanks for the questions, by the way. So we'll show you some cabinetry design scenarios, just going back on some of the points that we spoke about earlier. So this you can see right here, so we've got an overhead cabinet. You can see that these are doors, so these are hinge doors, and that's the way that that cabinet actually opens. So you've got two doors on the right and then two doors on the left. So this is quite ordinary. You may look at it from an aesthetic point of view and say it's quite pleasing. It's got the nice gold handles, nice splashback, but we want to actually look at whether it's practical or not. Some of the issues with that door is safety. So this is definitely an issue with a hinge door. When you do open the hinge door, you've got to really watch out for that corner, especially if it's in an area where you're working in that area. So it could be the cooking area, it could be a cleaning area. You're at the sink and you've got an overhead just above the sink. So you want to take that into account. Also, every door can only be a maximum of 600 wide, which means that if I've got a 600 wide door here and I've got a 600 wide door there, the maximum that I'll ever get out of that cabinet is 1200 wide for two hinge doors. Okay, so if you're trying to design wide spaces, wide areas for easy access, it also limits you in that way as well. But the biggest problem I see with this door here is every time I open it, I've got to close it. I can't leave the door open. And if I want easy access, I don't want to be closing and opening the door all the time. I want to be able to access what I need, work, do easy work, and then close it when I'm finished with it. You can see down here, we mentioned protrusion of the hinge door. Once opened, you must close. So what ends up happening is you're opening doors, you're getting something out, you're closing, then you go to the next cabinet, you're opening, getting something out, and then you're closing again. So you're spending time working. So access is limited. So you can see access is really from the center. If you've got another person just behind this lady standing here, they've got no visibility into the cabinet. They can't see anything. So you really have access from the center because you've got two doors hanging on the right and left. Did you want to say anything about that?
Oh no, I think we'll move to the next one, yeah.
So let's look at maybe a simple solution. Same cabinet, looks exactly the same. But this is a really practical functional solution by using a bifold door, by using a folding system. Now a folding system, you can see that what it's doing is, it is getting rid of these two doors in the center. Okay, so what it's doing is stacking those doors to the side. And look, none of this stuff is really expensive. Okay, yes, it's a slight increase in cost of what you would do over on top of the hinge, but the practicality, the easy access, the visual that it offers you on an everyday scenario in your kitchen for the next 20 years, or let's say at least 10 years, it certainly is worth considering. So you can see white, easy access, and I think that picture speaks for itself. Any questions on that? So that's a folding system instead of a hinge door. Yes, please.
Why is 600 the maximum door?
That's the recommended door weight. That's the recommended door thickness and weight.
Is that a law?
It's not a law. It's a recommendation.
Yeah, but it's also there's also issues. So if your cabinet overhead shouldn't be very deep, right? So it should only be shallow, and it shouldn't be too. Yeah, your door shouldn't be too big because otherwise you're going to have to be doing this.
Yeah, the longer you make the door, the more it's going to be in your way. So if you want to open a 700 wide door, you're going to have to step back to open a 700 wide door. Oh, you can, but then the door will fall off.
And there's also...
No, what you should really do is you should stack that 1200 door. So if you want to do a 1200 wide door, you do that. So that can be 600, that can be 600. So you can then fold that 1200 wide door, but you do it in 2 foldings of 600. And that means your door will work forever as well. Because don't forget, the bigger the door is, the more weight it has as well. And the more weight you've got, the more pressure it's putting on the system as well, the opening and closing system.
Yes, it'll be otherwise too big a cabinet. You've got 2 600 doors. It's going to,
So some more images just to help you with that concept of your overhead cabinets. And again, it's not about just overheads, it's just making you think different in ways that you open and close the door and in ways that you access the goods inside. So you can see that same scenario. We got rid of those doors in the middle, and now we're getting easy wide access. That's a sink, so you can see that. So there's going to be a lot of traffic there, a lot of work being done there. But you can also see it's not just for overheads. It can be done with the bottom cabinets as well. Reason being that door normally will be in the way. So if I want to leave that door open and I want to get access to my goods very easily and I want to keep working in the kitchen, a folding system will be a great scenario. Aesthetically, you don't change anything. Because
When you open one side, does the other side automatically open too?
yeah, so you would either use a handle, or you will push that door, or you will put your finger under it. And when you open, it actually opens for you. So this little device here, we call that a user-friendly unit. What it does is as soon as you push or pull the door, it starts to open for you. So you don't have to actually open it to the end. But to answer your question, you would open that separate and you would open that separate. Yeah.
If you guys are curious in more detail on this, Bobby actually does have those in the showroom here afterwards. So
Yeah,
something
sure.
you can check it
see
out
them.
as well.
Sorry, can I do a follow-up question? Is that user-friendly unit motorized or mechanical?
It's mechanical, so it keeps costs down. It does the job. It's non-electrical, because sometimes with electrical components the cost can go up as well. So we want to make sure, that it's affordable in a way. But yes, it is, sir. Yep. So soft closing as well. So what you find is when let's say you put your finger under it, you pull, it starts to drive itself to the very end. So you can go straight away and start doing what you need to do, because it comes back to access again, making things easy for you. And then you'll shut it back.
Do they soft close?
They are, ma'am.
So
Yes.
you
Yep.
just sort of go and then it just closes?
Yeah, definitely. So it's soft open, we call it. So when it's opening, it actually opens very softly to the end, so there's no banging. And then when you close it, it's also soft close as well.
Another question?
If someone's already created a kitchen and then found these hinges afterwards and wants to install it, can they do it with the pre-existing
Yes.
cabinetry, or do they have to?
Yeah, you'll have to make some alterations. So you'll find there's a track on top, okay, which you don't have on a hinge door. So a hinge door, you just have that hinge and this hinge here. So there's a track on top, there's a runner here that runs on that track. So all of the weight of the door is actually sitting on the track. It's a top loading door. So you do have to make some alterations, but you can work with your existing doors and existing cabinet, definitely. If you can find a cabinet maker that wants to do it. That's the other challenge. Yep.
Are these durable? They're
100%, 100%. So German made, German quality, doesn't break. You can drive a truck over it and it still works. It's got a
lot of the folding doors get floppy.
100%. No, that's why this is great. So that's why this is a great door. It's got a lifetime warranty too. So if there's any issues, you can just contact us and we'll replace it at no charge for you. But they don't, and you can come in the showroom and have a look.
Have a weight rating, like
Yes. So you're asking about weight. So each of these doors, this panel here, can be up to 25 kilos.
so you can have a five door.
It's been tested. So these doors have been tested 40,000 times opening and closing without fail. And that equals to about 50 years. If you consider the amount of times you open and close in a normal home, about 50 years.
When you say lifetime warranty, what exactly?
It's the lifetime of the kitchen. So as long as you're living in that kitchen and you haven't dismantled the kitchen or you haven't taken the parts out and built a new kitchen with it, it's the lifetime of your kitchen. It could be 20 years, it could be 30, 40. As long as that kitchen is still there, you've got the warranty with it. Sorry.
Do you do like a mirror version like for a bathroom?
You can, certainly. Yep, absolutely. Yep, you can. The challenge with doing mirror and aluminium doors is this unit. Because there's an arm behind that door that closes and opens the door. It just would mean that with an aluminium glass door, you would have to fold the door to the end and close it yourself. The door wouldn't automatically open for you, okay? So some more pictures here. This is just a recent picture of a project. So you can see folding that to the left, nice and easy. So do you want to?
I think we'll go through that.
Sure.
We can.
I want to give you a chance to.
We'll mention it, I think, a little bit later on. But these are just, I guess, some of the photos for you guys of your normal style doors. You can see can be a bit challenging when you've got sets of doors and they open on each other. So you just kind of have to open them individually. So.
How are we going so far? Good? The idea is good? Okay, I need to know it's working. Yep. So again, same scenario. Look, wardrobe. This is a common area. Wardrobes take a back seat. So generally people tend to focus on the kitchen a lot. And they build we're seeing a lot of activity around wardrobes because it's a really nice space, but it also comes down to budget as well. So people tend to spend a lot of money on the kitchens, and if they've got anything left, they might consider a wardrobe. So as a result, what happens is you end up with a very basic design on the wardrobe. Material can change, but I'm talking about the design. And you end up with a lot of doors. You end up with a lot of hinge doors. And wardrobes need to be very wide. Generally, wardrobes are built wide, designed wide, so you can actually see a lot of things. You can see your clothes, you can see your shoes. You know, you don't want to be opening and closing doors all the time.
I guess on that, actually, a lot of some of the imagery that we'll be showing you today, and I think there's quite a few that are kitchen related, but I guess you can take the same concept and apply it on other areas. So if if you have a question more about some of the other areas as we're going through, you could ask, how that relates to a study or wardrobe or something like that. So feel free to jump in with that. But I guess we don't want to get to a stage where we put all the money in the kitchen and then we run out of budget for everywhere else. Yeah. So that's where the good planning comes in. So looking at everything ahead of time and looking at priorities, scoping it all out to make sure that you've actually got budget for everything. Drawing it all up really helps. That's the kind of important at the initial stages, and then kind of where you're sitting budget-wise, rather than just doing one space in isolation as you're looking at the design of the house, and then forgetting that there's other spaces. So it's always important to look at it coherently and local. These are the spaces that I'm actually not fully happy with in my house, so I might do them at the later stage, and not just sort of look at one space, but look at them together, but not necessarily to build them together, but you look at them together in relationship with each other.
Thank you. Thanks, Paulina. Yeah, so you can see doors here again, and then doors here again as well. And again, a solution with folding system. So these slides are just focusing on sliding and folding doors and how they can help you. And I guess the question is, what I'm trying to show you is why you would fold a door, where you would use a folding system to give you the benefit of, again, easy, convenient, simple access. So there are no doors in the middle here to stop you from getting access to the actual cabinet. You can see we've also got some inner drawers. If you look at the slide before, that's a shelf. So you don't get access to anything in the back. and your visibility is just really to the front. By actually putting some what we call inner drawers inside, which are drawers inside a cabinet, you'll be able to pull them out and get access to your goods very easily. And it doesn't have to be a lot of them. It just has to be it just has to be for goods that you want to get full access to every day. Okay? So if there are things you want to store in a different place on a shelf, you can, but you've got to make sure access is quite easy too.
Bobby, if you go to the slide beforehand.
Yep.
So you can see where the shoes are. So Bobby's saying that it's hard sometimes to access things that are further. So it's actually harder if it's dark. So what we often do is we actually integrate LED lights often as part of your wardrobe to, especially for the shoes because they are quite low and could be sometimes hard to see. And that could be either system, either the normal doors or the one that Bobby's suggesting. But that's, that really helps to be able to see everything. Sometimes you can even do them on a sensor, so you open the doors and your light comes on.
Yeah, I love that, yep.
And often it doesn't cost like a huge amount extra. But you get you really nice sort of this kind of hotel look with your wardrobe and makes you excited about, you know, putting things on, trying things on.
Yeah.
With wardrobes, I've got sliding doors, but for the rail, I'm only 6'2", barely, and it seems a bit high because above that is where I put storage. So what would be the rough optimum height for the rail?
So technically sort of 1850 is probably the highest. Maybe for you it could be 1800 where we want to try and sort of have things. There is a couple of things you can do though. If you are designing, I guess from when you first, you know, looking at the layouts, you do have an option of setting it to a lower height that's more convenient for you. There are also solutions, and maybe Bobby might talk about those, where you can actually pull it down and then, you know, up again. But generally when we design the wardrobes, you know, it is very much about, you know, the heights of people and also how they and what they store. So it's very much about, do you have a lot of shoes, or do you have a lot of dresses? Do you have a lot of shirts and pants? Or do you have a lot of jewelry? And so the whole design is really around trying to make it as easy and functional for you. So that's, I guess, the advantage of having it, being able to design it custom.
Yes, sir.
After the weight of the doors, you've said that the weight, there's a maximum weight for the mechanism to handle them. For instance, in this wardrobe situation, is there a maximum, allowing for the weight, is there a maximum width that you can, that you recommend for each panel, each pair of?
Definitely, definitely. Great question. So each of these, each of these, we call them leaves. Each of these leaves can be 600, which means on each side it can be 1200. Right. So the total opening would be 2400 wide. Now the weight can be 25 kilos each leaf. So then that will be 50 kilos on the right and 50 kilos on the left. But also the weight, we have a door weight calculator that I can send you a link to. And it's about the material, the thickness of the material, the height and the width of the door. And that gives you automatically a kilogram for that particular panel.
Are they, the doors at the fold, are they a number of individual hinges or are they a piano hinge?
No, they're actually are concealed hinges that you put on normal doors. So if I was to go back to this slide here, you can see that little hinge there. These are your normal hinges at home. We have them, obviously. So you would open a door and close a door. So if we go back to this slide, how you actually open and close these doors with those hinges is exactly the same as how you would open it with a folding door.
And at the crease between the two leaves,
yeah, so there's a center hinge behind that. So you're referring to the hinge that goes here. It's just behind the door, and that hinge folds the door. So there's a center hinge that we actually do behind the door as well.
All right, very technical. Right into it.
Really want to just leave you with this, you know, with this line here: simple, convenient process require easy access. I really like you to remember that. Even with our sales team, we work a lot on this. So when they go out into the field, they stop selling things And what they do is they talk to clients about easy access, convenience, simple, because we all love that. We need that in any space. So you can see here I mentioned equip bottom cabinets with drawers. So you can see there are drawers here instead of doors. Drawers are more ergonomic as there's less stress on the body. So drawers actually slide out and bring things out to us. So this is now the next part of the presentation, which is we talked about hinge doors versus folding doors. Now we talk about hinge doors versus drawers. Okay? It's an important factor when we age. Nothing's in your way. There are no doors that can impact working process. There's clear visibility of the content immediately. You can quickly find items at the back of the drawers instead of pulling out from the cabinet shelf. Drawers lend themselves to a wider cabinet. Hettich offers many beautiful and practical solutions for drawers on a platform concept. So this is what I'm going to sell you, Hettich. Okay. So you can see.
Couple of things
yep.
just on the previous image that you mentioned. I'm sure Bobby will mention that in a little bit more detail as well. But so we get asked quite a bit now to do drawers underneath your bench tops rather than doors. So that, you know, is generally that's where we're moving. You know, drawers are more friendly, more ergonomic, like Bobby said.
Absolutely.
And then they're quite beautiful to look at as well when you see right through into the kitchen, you know, seeing sort of the rhythm of the finger pulls or the handles or whatever that might be. Another advantage, I'm not sure if Bobby might mention that, but another advantage of having drawers, especially at the bottom, is if they are pushed to open, and this is a lot of the time what our clients do, is if you're carrying something, you've got something in your hand, you can actually use your foot to push to open bottom drawers. And that's just sort of when you're cooking and you're busy and you're sort of walking around, that could be quite clever.
100%.
Yeah, way of doing it.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. Thanks, Paulina. Yeah. So.
Sorry, is weight a problem in the drawers?
Look, you'll have to check that with the manufacturer of the drawer system. Yeah. So for us, it's never been an issue. They've been tested up to 70 kg, which is almost a human, you know, one single human body. But the testing is done in, I think the testing is on up to 80,000 openings and closings without fail. We manufacture a drawer system for IKEA as well in Germany. So we've manufactured different drawer systems for different companies, like larger companies. IKEA's drawer, I think we tested up to 1 million times. So.
And for you guys, that's a conversation when you're having with your cabinet maker. What sort of hardware you're using. So it's actually quite important if you want specifically kind of quality hardware and you want good loading on your runners and your hardware. That is something worth talking to your cabinet maker about, because if you don't say anything, often you will probably get your kind of entry level or the standard, whatever the standard is.
Insist on that, to be honest. I would insist on it and ask them, what is the brand? Where is it made? What's the warranty? And actually go into the showroom and actually feel it for yourself. Is it loud? Can you hear it? Load it all up. See how it feels under load. Because there are a lot of drawer systems on the market. They work okay when they're empty. They work okay when they're actually quite small. When you start going wider and longer, which is another, remember space optimization was about using every millimeter, every centimeter. And that space optimization means if you've got space inside the cabinet, you want your drawers to be as long as possible inside the cabinet, so you're not wasting any space. Now, ordinary drawers fail under heavy load when they're longer or they're wider. So you want to make sure. Yeah, there's a lot of copies in the market, but ask the question, and I would ask for the testing, I would ask for the certificate testing, just to make sure. And look, good cabinet makers use good products, but you'll often, if you don't ask, you don't know what you're going to get. And can I tell you about the cost? So let's just use it as an example. So a very ordinary drawer system in the market, cabinet maker buys around $20 a drawer. Ours costs $40 a drawer. Now, if you've got, let's say 50 drawers in your home, which is a fair few, or in your kitchen you've got 20, that's only $400 extra. On both sides, yeah. So push to open is an added feature into the drawer. The same drawer, you add the push to open mechanism, and that's an extra cost. Generally should be around $40 to $50 per drawer. On top of the 40, yep. Yep. So what you're paying for is the additional cost in hardware. That's where we come in. But you're not necessarily increasing cost of labor because they're doing the same thing. If the cabinet maker doesn't want you to do something, he might give you a really high price and just to sort of stop you from doing it, but that's now your choice. But I just gave you an example of cost. The cost is not that much when you multiply it over how many drawers you've got in your home, okay? And the amount of the years that you're going to be using it as well.
Excuse me, did you say doors or
Drawers. Drawers, yeah.
Okay.
Drawers.
It's relevant
it's
for
my
both.
bad.
However many drawers you have, that's how many hardware pieces.
So
of
I'll
hardware.
give you an example right here. So this is a quick way to actually show you one of our drawer systems. This is called Avantec U. So there are 5 heights. You can see that. There are 3 colors, 9 nominal lengths. And what I mean by that is you can get that in a 250 short drawer all the way up to 650 long drawer. Okay? Just depends on how deep your cabinet is. So how far you can go with that depth. When you go to a cabinet maker, the cabinet maker generally will use a 500 long drawer. But what if you've got 550 inside or 600 inside the cabinet? When you put a 500 drawer and you've got that much space behind the drawer, you're wasting all of that space. So what you can do with our system is you can actually go to a different nominal length. You can say to the cabinet maker, look, what is my internal depth of my cabinet? I want to go longer with my drawer because I want more storage and I want things to come out to me. You're only going to have 2 or 3 cutlery drawers, let's face it. So you want to be able to actually store as much as you can in that drawer. So you don't want to waste any space. And then 4 drawer capacities, load capacities. It can be 10, 30, 40 or 70 kg. And to be honest, 40 kg is very good. 70 kg is probably overkill. Sorry.
So Paulina, coming back to you because you're the designer, when you're designing a kitchen and the space is unusually wide, given that we can do all this sort of stuff, how do the benches work in that area? So we can you can get.
Yeah,
You know
I understand. So your standard depth is 600. So that's to fit your cooktop, exhaust, your dishwashers, so most of your appliances, that's 600. However, in cases when you have a fridge, so integrated fridges are great because they're a little bit slimmer sometimes, so you can get away with 650, which is quite good, especially if you have smaller kitchen. But generally, it's probably 750 especially if you're putting a freestanding fridge, because it does still need ventilation around it. So in those cases, we like to extend the bench depth with the fridge as well, so the whole cabinetry wall looks nice and seamless and integrated, and it also gives you a wider space for prepping and cooking and things like that. But also something to keep in mind is that it does require stone generally to go on top, so that means more stone. So often from one slab, the cabinet maker or a stonemason can get the 600 bench and the 900 island from your standard. So sometimes if you are extending the depth, the costs will go up as well because of the stone slab, needing more stone slab as a result of that. But that's probably, that's what we would do. Often when you have also deeper kitchens or more spaces, you can extend your island. So rather than the 900s really standard or the 1100 for larger homes, you can sometimes go to more of a square shape. So really, I'll talk about kitchen layouts actually in a minute, and that might make more sense for everyone else, but generally they are the sort of, the layout of the kitchen should really should be functional, but also should be working with the layout of your kitchen, dining, living space very much so.
With the, I was going to say, with a door, you have your adjustment to level it out.
Definitely.
With a drawer, there's nothing.
No, with drawers you've got adjustments.
There is still
Yep,
adjustment.
always. Yep, always. So the cabinet makers have to adjust because your floor may not be level, so you always need to offer adjustment. So when they're actually doing the installation, they can just fine tune, adjust. But to be honest with you, precision comes down to the right hardware too. So one of the great things about
And the right cabinet maker.
Yeah, all of those things. No, it's true. It's true.
No, I'm just speaking.
It's true.
I
Yeah.
They go out.
You don't want to be adjusting too much. There's something wrong if you're adjusting too much. You want slight adjustment. Our adjustments are up to 4 mil. So we're not adjusting a lot, but 4 mil is a lot. Okay, so you might want to just tune it a little bit, but if you're adjusting a lot, it means there's something wrong. Either it's not level, or the guys didn't cut straight. Yeah, so because so that could happen, but there's always adjustment for sure. Yep.
So yeah, that's probably a question to me as much as to Bobby. So for the 600 bench, so with drawers, a lot of your standard hardware, you probably might not get like the full depth in with your drawer. Obviously, there's some drawers you don't want to go the full 600 either. So if it needs to be, like if it's too far to reach as well. But I think, Bobby, with your drawers, you can go
If it's 600 exactly internal, 550. But we require 3 millimeters in the back of our drawers. So we have a nominal end of 600. If you have 603, you can fit a 600. But that means you're only wasting 3 mil inside.
One other thing, with kickboards, because I flood, to be able to remove the kickboard, to be able to clean up underneath if it's flooded, is that an easy thing to do or not?
I'm afraid not. Because there's a face on the kickboard, you have to remove the face, and then you've got the weight of the cabinets on the kickboard too. Yeah, so you'll have to lift up the cabinets, take the kickboard away. Pardon? Oh right, can you? Okay, I had no idea. Yep. So you can. I think you. Sorry, can you?
Yeah, I can't remember the brand, but if you Google on the actual feet, like if you get cabinets with feet on it, it's like that thing that goes on the front of it, the magnet.
Oh yep. If it's got feet under.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I did one years ago.
Yeah, sure. Yep.
Jewelry and crap.
Yep. No, you're absolutely right. So if it's got plastic, if it's sitting on legs, you can remove the front for sure. I was more thinking kickboard. Yep.
All right. Moving.
Can I just, before we move on from drawer sliders, do you know of anywhere in town or within a reasonable journey where one can try a variety of different drawer sliders against each other?
Not me personally. You'll have to probably go to different showrooms, like different manufacturers, and test their drawers. But it's a good idea. I've been thinking about doing it.
It is a really good idea to do that research.
Because we focus more on ourselves as a brand. We just don't.
But if you reckon you're the best, you could have all the others laid out beside you.
I'll take your challenge any day. Let's do it. Let's do it. I'll go stand in it if you want. So, yeah, a couple more pictures for you, showing your drawers. Do you want to go through? Yeah, see what's...
Yes, I think we're done to kitchen layouts now. So I thought we'd just take a little bit of a step back. So we went really kind of technical into the hardware and the cabinetry. So for those of you that are sort of initial stages and not quite at the stage where you are ready to look at the drawers and the hardware specifically, so we can take a bit of a step back and look at the layouts. So that's, I guess, some of your questions earlier. So I thought I would include some images of the different layouts for you guys to consider. And then also we can talk about materiality. So a few of you asking questions earlier before the presentation. So in this particular image here, that was actually quite a narrow house. So if some of you are building on a narrow block or anything like that, that's actually quite a common layout that we're seeing now, where you've got your island here, and at the back that could be your ovens and the space for the fridge, or it could actually be a cooktop as well, and then drawers underneath. And then you've got a long bench on the side as well, and that could be either your sink if you didn't have it in the island, or that could be your cooktop as well, or that could be actually empty if you had the sink and then the cooktop at the back. So there's a few different configurations possible with this one. So that's from the layout perspective. I'll go to the next slide to show you a little bit more in detail what we're aiming for. But while we're here, the materiality, obviously, who of you know about the reconstituted stone and the issues with silica? Have you, yeah. So if you're starting to look at materials, you'll know that a lot of the older ranges of the reconstituted stones can no longer be used because of the silica content, which is very bad for the stonemasons. So now a lot of suppliers are coming up with new ranges that are similar in look, but they have zero silica in them. So that's still an option. The colors are relatively similar, but I guess that industry is undergoing a little bit of a change. You can also get porcelain slab as well. So it basically could be any pattern, any color, or there's a lot of variation because essentially it's a print. But it's quite a lovely material, very durable, easy to put things on, really good material to work with. But sometimes you've just got to get the right stonemason that would be willing to work with porcelain. So good builder, good stonemason, good cabinet maker. They're generally things that people that you really want on your team. And then obviously we've got different colored tapware. We've got gunmetal here, which is quite popular as well. So the floor plan, so with the kitchens, what's important that you have is your kitchen triangle. Who have heard about kitchen triangle? Most of you have. So what kitchen triangle is that I guess where you're traveling between your sink to your cooktop to your fridge. That's your triangle there. So there, I guess, your common path of travel when it comes to kitchen spaces. So you want to make that efficient. You don't want them too far away. Often you will still have kitchen that might have a sink here and the cooktop here, but that would still be your triangle. So that's when we talk about efficiency of travel with that. So yeah, you can see here you've got the island bench in the middle of the space. That's your wall of your living space and kitchen living, and that's your back wall. So that's the entire width of your house. So that's quite common to have that layout because it just utilizes the kitchen to the best of its ability, and you still get all of this space for prep, which is quite efficient. And then fridges fridges here we often have on the outside of your kitchen. That's because someone might be cooking in the kitchen and really busy in the kitchen, and then someone just wants to come in and just grab a snack. So you want to have that on the outside of your kitchen, so that it's easy not to you're not in the middle of the cooking with the hot pans and pots and utensils and everything like that. I thought I would just throw in a picture of one of the clients that we worked with. So they're a lovely client. Their kids obviously growing up already, so they no longer small and messy and things like that. So they wanted look after the space, and they're just really something for them that now they can afford to have a beautiful space that everyone's going to cherish and appreciate. So we've done this beautiful kitchen for them. That's the 5-meter ceilings, and how it's laid out is that you've got the island at the front, and then you've got your back bench at the back, which has the cooktop and the exhaust, and then you've got the sink in the island bench, and then behind here you've got your pantry, which again is not actually a bad layout for a narrow space. So even though the living room is actually quite large, the kitchen, dining and living, the width wasn't as wide. So then having the pantry at the back, that's quite common as well at the moment. And so with pantry, you can either use it to do majority of the cooking, in which case you need a really good double sink, double bowl sink, and your dishwasher and all of the appliances, they'll live there. And then your front kitchen will be more maybe for entertaining and doing some of the cooking. So you can use it in a couple of different ways. A lot of people do the opposite, where they use the kitchen space predominantly, and then pantry's kind of more for the messy activities, and then they'll come back out to the kitchen. So there's a few different options for you there.
Questions?
Yeah.
3 questions actually.
Okay.
Can you go back to your first slide on the other one? Yes, that one. You mentioned about the triangle. Is there a specific ratio of that triangle?
I love how this is a very technical room. Is there a ratio, number of kilos, number of hinges you need, and the exact height?
Yeah.
Can I please have a checklist?
Yeah, that's all important.
It's all very important. However, no, I don't believe that there is an exact ratio. Obviously, you don't want it to be really far to travel. So there is a certain certain length between your benches. So that's probably 900 being the shortest, and probably 1200 being the widest, because otherwise it take you forever to just like grab your pan and then go put it down, then oh, I forgot something from the fridge, grab it back, oh no, I have to chop it now. So it's just going to take a long time. So you know, there is the optimal kind of length there. And then same here. And obviously when you open in cupboards, you know, Bobby's talking about functionality. If they're too long, obviously, you know, you'll find yourself back at the island. So yeah, there are distances that are set and heights. Obviously ergonomics is important. Kitchen can be a bit dangerous because you've got, you know, your hot things and oil spitting and everything like that. So there are, you know, definitely, I wouldn't sketch it out and just build it out without sort of consulting, you know, some standards there. Does that answer your question?
Sort of.
Yeah.
Can I just ask a question with the dishwasher? Is it all common for people to put the dishwasher in the butler's pantry now and then still out there?
So yeah, this is like a good argument. So it's that, and then having the sink in the island, whether we have the sink in the island or not. So that's like a big argument. So it depends how you use the kitchen is the answer. So if you're going to be doing most of the washing and most of the prepping and things like that in your main kitchen, you might want one there, or you can get a dish drawer as well. So you have a main dishwasher in your butler's pantry and a dish drawer in your kitchen, or vice versa also. So that's also an option. Kitchen in the sink in the island, some people don't love because they want to keep it for chopping, and they can also double it up as the dining space to sit around. So often they prefer to have it on the back bench. But you can also get accessories that sit inside your sink, where you can actually chop over the top, essentially, of that. You said you had 3 questions. You only asked 1.
The next slide, please. You said the ceiling height is like 500, and I
5 meters, yeah.
Sorry.
Raked,
5
yeah.
meters. So for short people, right? I don't expect, well, even for normal sized people, I don't expect that they'll be able to reach, you know, all the way
No.
to that cabinet. So is that like a dead space or just like a covering, or
Yeah.
is that actual shelves?
So that's often different for kitchens than it is for other spaces. For example, walk-in robes, we usually go all the way to the ceiling, but then you can store suitcases and things that are you barely ever use, and then you just use a step carefully. Or sometimes there's like an integrated ladder you can get, which is pretty cool as well, where you can access those quite easily. But for kitchens, probably not so often because you're there all the time, so you probably don't want to be climbing over it. But we do prefer to have, so if I go here, so this is where your fridge finishes, right? Then you've got those 2 cupboards, which you probably could still use because this is 1800, depending on how tall you are. So fridges often end at about 1800, 1850, something like that. So you could probably just reach that, but really you'd probably use a step. So it's quite common to go up to this height there. But these is more just for show. So these are actually fixed panels, which you can have across, that make it look like your kitchen is endless and beautiful and goes all the way up, but they're not actually cabinets. You can make them cabinets, but this is an extra cost, and you're probably barely ever gonna use it, and it's a bit dangerous.
So based on that theory, for a standard, well, sort of standard height ceiling, like a 2.4 meters or 2 meters sort of height.
2.4 apartments, 2.7 often houses, or 3 meters
so
even
apartments, say,
plus, yeah.
Then you wouldn't build your cabinet all the way up to the 2.4 ceiling height. It'll be just about where you were saying it's about 1.8 then.
So,
would that be right?
Sorry, say that again. So there's a few different ways to do a kitchen. So there's a few different ways you can design it. You're probably balancing the functionality and the looks. So from a look perspective, I personally don't love anything that stops before the ceiling because the dust collects there, it's unusable space, it doesn't look great, it just looks like you ran out of money. So, like, you know, we're spending all this money on the hardware, may as well chip in a little bit so it looks at least nice.
If I'm using that same theory, right, I could have that gate panel like the functional space, the cabinetries and everything, up to like 1.8, and then anything above that would then be like that paneling kind of cover, because then that would be sort of, because technically, if I were to use steps in kitchen, it would be quite dangerous as well, because I'll be carrying things down and it'll be sort of like working at heights which then
yeah. We often, when designing a kitchen, we often look at datum lines. So the reason why this is where it is, can you see this?
Yep.
That's the datum line. So that's where the bulkhead starts to go into pantry. And this is where the windows start or stop. There's high level windows over there, but then these are the windows and where they stop. So when we're designing a kitchen, we want to have the datum lines, so everything looks nice. And that's the difference between a kitchen designed by a designer versus kitchen that maybe just was how it was. So you want the consistency of datum lines following those through. And that could be, you know, your kitchen cupboards, how you paint, or any data rails you use, or anything like that. You know, we all work with the datum lines to make it nice. Does that make sense? All right. Okay, so integrated appliance, quickly we'll mention as well, LED lights as well, quite common in the kitchen, make it a little bit easier to see everything, pantries and whatnot. There's a couple of ways you can integrate power as well in your islands. That's one of them. It's a really nice product. It's sort of, gets recessed in. And that could be, looks really nice in stone, looks really nice in sort of any feature cabinetry, paneling, that sort of thing. But you can also get ones that actually pop up from the benches if you've seen those. So that's your other option. I personally prefer these ones because they look really nice and you can make them look nice. All right, integrated appliances. I mentioned a little bit about integrated fridges and the advantages that you can have a shallower bench, so the space is of the essence. That's a really great solution. And then they can range from sort of $6,000 all the way up to 20 plus, etc. So it's worth looking at them if you are considering putting one in, but I would advocate for one any day of the week. Because another issue with not having one is that when you've got your freestanding fridge, yes, it's functional, but then you have all these gaps around it for ventilation, and so it just looks a bit messy, that's all. And then there's another style of kitchen here. So you've got the island and then the back bench just keeps running through, and then you've got your walk-in pantry. We see those quite a bit in new homes and developments and things like that, and just a lot of space in the kitchen. Sorry?
Your triangle there is a straight line.
What do you mean?
The stove's on the other side. It's all on the left.
So we've got that
Where's
is
the sink?
this is a triangle.
There's the sink. Okay.
There is also a sink in the butlers, like I said. Some people prefer to have or like to have still an additional sink in the butler's pantry. So if you've got a kitchen that's this big, so when we look at like the appliances that are relevant for the kitchens, we look at how much space you have. So there's no point having 2 dishwashers. You have a tiny kitchen. You may as well just walk. But if you've got a really big kitchen, sometimes it's helpful to have the sink in the butlers as well, so then you can use this as like a really efficient prep space. If the 2 of you are cooking, you can split up tasks that way as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Any other questions?
I noticed that most of the design here, you have the dishwasher next to the sink. Is there a reason for it?
Yeah. It needs to be connected to plumbing to get water supply.
All right.
So you can't put it very far away, can't put it in the opposite corner. Sometimes you can put it a little bit further away. But yeah, generally they are always close to plumbing.
Yeah, as long as it's close to plumbing, it's not for other reason as in access or anything else.
That is good. That is good too. But yeah, you just have to, like, otherwise you're going all the way through the cabinetry, which is not too helpful. Okay, a couple of questions.
Is there a recommended space that you should have between a cooktop and like bench space between a cooktop and say oven or something else?
Yeah, there is. So I would generally not put anything, but probably closer to 600. Look, if you are really in a pinch, like you can put something closer, put this in closer, but the drawback is that you can't put something next to it, so it just makes it a little bit awkward. I also don't love when they put cooktops right close to something else and you've got like a, you know, a panel there, and you're like trying to cook and you've got, you know, something here like, you know, fridge or an oven stack or something like that. Yes? Yeah, that's something to note. Yeah, we've had that feedback before. Actually, I think if you look at one of the previous, one of the images at the very start, the kitchen that we put in, this kitchen there. So when you are selecting your material, you can select like your higher end sort of laminate, or most people will go laminate. Timber veneer is your next step up, which looks obviously lovely, but an extra additional expense. But you can get them with anti-fingerprint or matte surface. So that's a conversation to have when you are selecting your materials, definitely. And it's more relevant with the darker surfaces, probably than it is with some of the lighter surfaces. But it definitely is a concern. Yeah, definitely something to watch and note.
So the kitchen where you've got the cabinets both sides, what you're looking at the space in between, like it's usually about 1200 I think, but if you've got two lots of cupboards opening up, like that last one, do you suggest more space in between them?
Well, let's have a look at what you mean.
So I guess the corridor, and so the last one, the long narrow one.
Oh, the narrow, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
So the space in between those two, what do you recommend in between?
Oh yes, so between the island and the backbench.
Yeah.
So that's what I was mentioning before with you know, with the kitchen triangle. So 900 the shortest, and again if you're talking about this kitchen, like that would look really tiny. So everything has to be proportional. So when it's a long kitchen like that, I would increase that to 1100 to 1200. But again, when you're designing those spaces, it's important to remember that everything is connected. So if you're putting them too far and then you're putting a nice big island bench, just watch that your living space doesn't get too small and you can't fit your sofa anymore. So that's just something to note as well. And then you've got to have you know, certain distances there and there as well. So at least 900, but better probably a meter or so. That's not where you're not opening cupboards and things like that there, so it doesn't have to be as deep. Whereas here you've got cupboards either side. But still, yeah, it still can't be too small. So two people need to pass each other comfortably.
Something that's worthwhile mentioning for the bench top is that your general dinner plate is 300.
The what, sorry?
For your bench tops, your dinner plate is generally
Yes.
300.
Yeah.
So that's like 600 is good if you're plates out and things like that.
Yeah, the leg.
100%.
I think the leg area. Is that what the leg?
No, I think you mean around this, right? Dinner plate.
Bench top space, yeah, like
Yeah, dinner plate around everywhere. So
you've got a stove and then a cupboard.
yes,
That distance be.
yes, yeah. It's just more comfortable when it's a little bit more space. No, we have actually this scenario in here. Let me think where that is. It's a little bit further.
We've got a few slides to get through, eh?
Hang on, I'll have to come back to you on this because there is a photo here where
let's
a
move.
similar setup where you've got the splashback window rather than your stone. So it can be done. It's actually this space there is important. Bobby, is there a minimum depth there for between the window and cooktop?
No, but not that I'm aware of. But generally, it's 600.
It's at least 600
Generally
to fit your
600,
cooktop.
Yeah, because you might have some gas plumbing.
Yeah.
Just behind, if you're talking gas, you'll have some plumbing there. So you might have to run that down into the wall or into the ground. So, but generally 600. Just depends on where the plumbing is for gas or even your electrical and how you're running that.
And the range hood has to be 10 or higher.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, so that is a consideration, which is why I often prefer the induction than gas, because with induction you can do 600 here. When you're doing gas, I believe you have to go 750. Depends what sort of material you've got this sort of finish in, but you do have to go higher. So you are losing a little bit of cabinetry. And a lot of people, when they say I want gas, have not actually cooked with induction before. That's what I find. So if you haven't cooked with induction, I would just, not electric, induction. So I would just try induction to see how you like it, because it is really, it's just really versatile, you know. You can put different pots and, you know, you take it off and it just goes, like, it could get cold as well, and it's just quite nice to cook with.
Okay, we should move forward because we've got a lot of slides.
Yeah.
So if you want to save your questions for the end.
Split out some more questions.
Concern about gas and window, because what I've read is if you have curtains on the windows and if you're cooking with gas, then it could catch fire.
Oh,
so
100%.
Recommended distance between window and cooktop for gas.
Yep.
Yeah, I would not.
We can save your questions for the end.
Yeah. Let's keep moving, and then we'll come back and do a couple more. All right. I think Bobby, that's your turn next.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
So what I might do is just quickly bring you back to that intelligent kitchen concept design. So you've gone through a few layouts right now, but you're welcome to ask questions from Pauline at the end. So this is the second section with the intelligent concept design in the kitchen. It will cross over into how you're designing your kitchen with Paulina or an interior designer. At Hettich, what we do is we divide the kitchen into different spaces, or let's say zones, okay? So these are the 5 zones that you really need to be aware of, which is cleaning, prep, cooking, consumable, and non-consumable. Now, thank you. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to equip each of those zones or spaces with utensils or equipment that you need to actually carry out that type of task, okay? So cleaning is going to require you to organize your drawers, organize your cabinet with things that you need for washing and cleaning, okay? Prep is going to be all of your prep utensils, knives, chopping boards, glad wraps. All of those things need to be right there and then. If you remember earlier on we were speaking about things need to be at a glance. So when you are preparing, you don't want to really be traveling back to a drawer where it's got your knife block and then you're coming back to where you're preparing. So when we talk about workflow, work process, you need to have these zones in a way that everything is flowing, okay? The other one is cooking utensils, spatulas, pots and pans, oils and spices. Now coming back to what we're talking about before, about oils and spices, you want your oils and spices to be right there next to the cooking area, okay? Consumables, what are they? So that's food storage, that's your pantry. And then we'll go into non-consumables, which is your cutlery, plates, bowls, etc. Okay, so please remember that. I'm just rushing through this a little bit, but please remember that what you want to do is just divide it into different workspaces, into zones. And these are generally the 5 zones that we recommend that you divide it into. So consumable zones, this is your pantry. This is a great solution under a pantry. Pantry, it's a door. Now remember, going back again to what we're talking about, no shelves, okay? No hinge doors with a shelf, because you got no visibility, everything's stored in the back. Then you're going to only be able to access the things in the front of the shelf. What you really want to do is equip your cabinet with drawers. These are called inner drawers, but we actually call this a space larder. Okay, that's what this concept is about. This concept's called a space larder. You can design that into your kitchen. You can go to your cabinet maker and say, hey, I want a space larder by Hettich. They may not know what it is, all of them, but generally if you give them a picture of that, they will understand. What you're really asking for is drawers, pulling out, things coming out to you, and you'll be able to exactly see inside that drawer. So this is a great pantry. The actual width of this can be anywhere from 450 to 1200 wide. So it can be 450 single door, 600 single door, 900 or 1200 with a double door. Okay, so you can go actually really wide and large. Consumable space, easy access, visibility, ergonomics. We spoke about that. Here's another picture of a recent project, for example, just to show you, because the other picture is a little bit more graphic. This one's more real life. So drawers coming out. This top drawer here, you need to make sure that you have it at your chest height. Okay, so not up here, because you won't be able to see inside. It doesn't make sense. So this one here just around chest level, and then these ones here obviously at the bottom. And why glass? So you can do glass with us. Glass to front, glass to sides. Just means that you get access to the goods visually straight away. So as soon as you look at that drawer, and when we go into organisation, you'll actually know where everything is. So you won't be kind of pulling drawers out trying to find it. You'll know where your cans are, you'll know where the bottles are, you know where the oil is and things like that. That's a wide one. So double door with drawers coming out. And again, just a 600 wide. Preparation space. What's probably really important to mention is that your top drawer, there's a middle drawer and there's a bottom drawer. So generally we tend to use the top drawer a lot more, the middle drawer a little bit less, and then as it gets to the bottom drawer, it's really a lot less than the top one. Okay, so how we organize those drawers depends on what goods we put inside and how often we access them. Okay. So you can see top drawer in the preparation zone is for tasks such as chopping, slicing, peeling, knives, utensils. And then the middle drawer might be your oils, condiments, food that we use for prep. And then bottom drawer might be perfect for glass containers, food containers. That's a big one. Your Tupperware, all the lids and all the containers being separated and just being nicely and neatly organized in that drawer. So when you're prepping, if you've got any leftovers, you can just go to the bottom drawer, whether you're pulling or you're pushing, you can just get what you need out, get a container out, put the rest of the stuff in there and put it in the fridge. But you're not moving, okay? So you're right there at the prep zone. Cooking space, another beautiful picture of one of Paulina's projects. I love that one, by the way. I thought I'd tell you.
That's our Manta Marine project.
Yeah, that's my favourite.
It's a really
it looks
beautiful
really nice.
setting there.
Is that walnut? What is that finish?
That was Florentine walnut, I think, from memory.
Beautiful,
yeah.
beautiful.
We matched it up. We tried to match it up with the timber posts that were actually existing to the building, and that had history. We integrated that as part of the dining table as well.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, so cooking zone. Again, top drawer is for cooking utensils like spatulas and large spoons. Middle drawer for pots and pans. If you come into the showroom, you'll actually see we've got a drawer in there nicely organized for pots and pans. All the lids are separate, all the pots are actually separated. But while you're standing at the cooking zone, you pull the middle drawer out, all your pots and pans are in there. And then the bottom drawer might be those big electrical fryers, things that you might pull out every now and then. Everything should be organized, ladies and gents. That's what you're looking for.
Very Marie Kondo.
Yeah, that's what you want, okay? Organisation, sorry. Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, that, you can call it that too.
Yeah,
same but
I
different.
I don't think it is. Yeah, maybe.
So,
maybe.
That one on the right's got a top drawer, the covering, and underneath it's got...
Yeah, so mate, what that might be, right?
Yeah.
So the picture is showing a very large drawer, but this is an inner drawer.
Yeah.
So,
which is clever,
so
yeah.
It's on top of the other one. You're absolutely right.
So when you open the big one, you can
then you've got
open or
another one.
close the little one.
Stuff
Yeah.
on the top and then less used stuff underneath.
So this is the narrow base unit we were talking about. You were talking about where to store the oil and things like that. Look, I mean, if you want to store it above in the overhead cabinets, you can, if you can reach it easily. But this is where everybody can reach it. Okay, now we call it the narrow space, narrow base pull-out. Why? It doesn't have to be very big. You can build it with our drawers, but you can make it vary between a 120 cabinet or a 300 cabinet. You can go wider, but generally to put chopping board and oils and spices in there, that's all you're going to need. Okay, and for you guys, because I know you're building a new home, you should really talk to your cabinet maker about something like that if you already haven't done it. Okay.
Really quickly on the cooking front, just about appliances while we're at it. This is probably a good image to talk about. So with ovens, often people prefer a stacker ovens because obviously it's more at your level. It's easier to get things in and out. It's nice to have some space next to it as well, so you can take it out and put it on the bench. So if you've got the space, that's probably your go-to. However, sometimes there's actually not enough space in the kitchen for a tower or a stack. So often people will put the two ovens side by side underneath your cooktop as well. So that's another option. And you have choices of sizes. There's 600 cooktops, and there is the 900 as well. So now we've probably seen a lot more 900 wide cooktops than we do of 600. But if the space is of the issue, or if it's short on space, then you have to go 600. But those are your choices as well. And yeah, see here you've got the splashback window. So there's actually no space on that back cabinetry for a tower. Hence, we've put it underneath there. Your exhaust is another thing people often ask. You know, we used to sort of see those ones, those more kind of, you know, the ones sort of, yeah, industrial looking ones. I want to find a good language to use. We often will do the integrated ones there, just so then it's nice and neat. The cabinetry just looks nice as if it's not even there. And you can still have your shallow overhead cupboards there, or one of Bobby's systems there as well, if it's a shallower one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, just I think the last one, cleaning and waste zone. Yeah, drawers instead of doors, which spoke about that. You should definitely consider a waste system of some type, but for us the best ones work that are integrated into drawer systems again, because the drawer system is what's going back and forth all the time, and believe it or not, the actual bin drawer is the most open and closed drawer in the kitchen. Now if you don't have that type of space in your kitchen, you don't have that cabinet in your space, you can opt for one just underneath the actual sink itself. So it can be a pull out underneath the sink, and then you can also equip the top drawer underneath your sink. So if that sink is here, you can actually opt for that underneath your sink as well, and that just goes around the waste pipe. You've got some pockets here. This is actually just an insert. It's a plastic insert that we manufacture with pockets, and it goes into a drawer. So the cabinet maker cuts that out and puts the insert in, and it goes around the waste pipe. But do you remember space optimization? How much space do you often see under a sink being wasted? So it's about really making sure that not only you don't waste the space, but you equip that space with things you need for cleaning. Okay, that's where the sink is. And if your dishwasher is near your sink, and if your dishwasher is near the sink, this is the scenario you want. Okay, you want to be able at the sink, pull it out, get your tablet, put it in the dishwasher, put your dishes in there, and you're not moving around at all. So then work is easy for you, okay, which makes it more enjoyable.
Yeah. All kitchens now. So
Yeah. Non-consumables is your plates. It's the cutlery, the plates. Again, top drawer, middle drawer, bottom drawer, and the bottom one can be the ceramic ones, that the larger ones that you might entertain with. Here's some pictures again around the non-consumable zone. If you want to get them organised, you can. So your top drawer can be nicely organised like that. Your middle drawer can be also organised like that. These are plate holders. You can buy these plate holders from us as well. What they do is they allow the plates to actually be in the right space, the right place each time, every time. When you take them out of the dishwasher, you can put them back in the same spot all the time. It stops them moving around, but it also allows you to lift them out of the drawer and put them on the bench if you're entertaining. Couple of more pictures for you. I will put these there for you just so you can enjoy these pictures. Just have a look at them of how organised you can get. Once you invest in this sort of thing, it's a one-off. You do it one time for the entire lifetime of the kitchen, but imagine how much you're making work easy for yourself. You can see the knife block here. It's organised. You know exactly where the knives are. How many times do you use a knife for preparation? You pull that drawer out, you know where your knives are. You can separate all the bowls. It just makes it so much easier. That's a Glad wrap and a foil dispenser for baking or for Glad wrap. It just helps you with tearing the actual foil. These are boxes. You could just buy these boxes and just separate all the smaller items. and then lighting. There we go.
I think we're nearing the end, so if you've got questions, maybe have a think what you want to ask. But I just thought we'd just cover the lighting a little bit, because we do ask questions about, get questions from clients about lighting. Obviously lighting, we've got the general light, so that's for anywhere throughout the house. We've got the task lighting, so areas where you've got specific focus happening. It often requires more task lighting, so more direct lighting over the work area. And then we've got the feature lighting that really doesn't do a huge amount other than just making things look nice, right? And they're the three different things that you want to play with as you're creating the lighting design for your home, because lighting has come a really long way now. So cost is another, I think, element that people don't often consider when it comes to light, because for some reason often people see a lot of value in beautiful furniture, but when it comes to lighting, they're not prepared to spend as much, which is quite crazy because lighting is actually wired in. So if you want to change it, it is a lot more difficult than swapping a sofa and putting a new one. So I would suggest not really skimping on your lighting. But if you did want a more cost-effective lighting solution for a sort of, let's say, over the kitchen area, you could go ceiling mount lights. So they look quite nice in a pair. They're quite modern, architectural. They don't cost a huge amount of money. Then you've also got your pendants. That's another option. Again, if you didn't want to spend a huge amount on lighting, I would just prefer to go, I would recommend to go something simple but nice detail. I do recommend looking at light before you're putting it in, not just selecting out of the picture of the internet, because the detail really matters, the ceiling canopy and everything like that, and how it's put together. So that's your other option, I suppose, on that. And then there was some other, I guess that was a good example of the lighting, of a feature lighting and the little wall light. Again, that's more just for show. It will make this area a little bit more, I guess, illuminated, so it's good as well, but a lot of the time, yeah, it's sort of soft lighting just to kind of give it a bit of an effect.
Yeah, summary, do you want me to do summary? Okay, all right, great, thank you, Paulina. So I think, is this the last slide?
I think summary was the last one.
So just a little quick summary. For me, it's just about that, ergonomic, that ease of use, being able to access things when you need them right there and then. Effortless in operation, smooth, quiet, safe operating, good quality hardware. Make sure that you look into exactly what the mechanics of the hardware is, who makes it, who builds it, where it comes from. You're going to be using it for a long time. But thank you so much. I'm sorry I rushed towards the end a little bit. I'm conscious of your time, that's all, because I know you were thinking you were going to be here for an hour. But there is a whole lot, and we just wanted to make sure that we cover everything. And thank you, Paulina, for coming in as well. If you've got any questions, please stay.
One more.
Yeah.
One more.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, before you jump up and run off, there's a little thank you there for you. So what you'll see on your seats is a little flyer. So from me and Hettich.
Thank you. Sorry, forgot about that.
That's okay. So the first, I think 10 or something like that, people will receive a complimentary consultation. So valued at $450. So if you would like to jump on, there's a QR code here. And if you'd like some advice on your home, you wanted to look at some plans, you've got some more specific questions to go over, we're happy to offer that. And Hettich actually, Bobby was really lovely to offer a free gift as well for those people. That is a lovely tray that makes the access a lot easier, I think. Bobby might even have
it. So this is called Comfort Spin. Comfort Spin. It's a beautiful little tray. What it does is it brings the items in the back to the front. I use it in my own home in the fridge. So the top shelf in the fridge, you've got all the jam and the butter and things like that, and you're always trying to reach the back. So if you put it into the fridge, you actually just spin it and it brings everything back to the front. So it's really, really, really cool. And it's made by Hettich in Germany as well. It's one of their ideas. And I think you'll get that with every consultation with Paulina. So
jump in quick. This is your QR code. You can scan that and pop your details in, and then we'll be in touch with you afterwards. And generally, if you have any questions, Bobby will be available.
I'm going to go to the showroom. If you need to see anything I spoke to you about today, I'll be in the showroom, the Hettich showroom, just right in the back. Come over, have a look at some things that we got there. Some folding systems, some drawer systems, hinge systems, they're all there. Paulina,
and then
if,
I'll
yep,
be
got any
available.
questions?
I might stick around for a little bit here and
Sure.
then potentially join Bobby in the showroom as well.
Easy. Thank you so
but thank
much.
you so much for coming
Thank
and
you.
making time and space for yourselves to
Thank
set you
you.
up on a great journey.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Thank you.
Thanks.
Pleasure. Pleasure. Thanks for coming in. Thank you. Thank you.